So I asked Siri, how old is our sun? And Siri was like, what is your child's name? And I was like, oh my god. Siri, how big is Uranus? And Siri was like, oh shit, we're rolling. Hi, I'm Kiwi, and much like the fruit, I'm covered in small hairs. Today, we're going to talk about why the TRAPPIST system is not that exciting.
Kiwi talks about stuff you wanna know.
So, you've probably heard there was a NASA announcement on February 22nd that they found more planets around an already discovered ultra-cool dwarf star called TRAPPIST-1. The first planets they found were too close to the sun to possibly be in the habitable zone. Then they found more of them. And NASA made sure to let everybody know that these planets are rocky, they're Earth-sized, and their temperature would be good enough to maybe support life. So a lot of people have been really optimistic about TRAPPIST-1, but I'm here to be the pessimist about the TRAPPIST-1 system. Odds are that none of the planets could have life on them, and there's a few reasons why. First off, we need to think about how old the TRAPPIST star is. It's an ultra-cool dwarf star, which means that it's really young. So it's only been around for 500 million years. In case you don't know, our sun's been around for more than 4.5 billion years. So basically, there was only bacteria on Earth until, for the first billion years. And then it took a whole other billion years for more complex cells to even form that had actual cell walls and that stuff you learned about in high school, like Golgi bodies and shit. If the planets are okay to have life on them, it probably hasn't formed yet. On top of that, we have the fact that all of the planets are tidally locked. And you might have heard this before somewhere, but basically, when a planet is tidally locked, it always faces the same direction towards its sun, like our moon does to us. There's a dark side of the moon. I think Pink Floyd has an album about it or something, but planets get tidally locked when the sun and the planet are pretty similar in size and are very close together. The planets in TRAPPIST-1 are very close together and very close to their sun. All 7 of the planets are closer to their sun than Mercury is to our sun. Their years range from 1.5 days to 12.5 days, and they're so close together that if you were to stand on one of the planets, theoretically you should be able to see almost all the others in the sky a lot bigger than we see our moon in the sky. In fact, the average distance between these planets is only 1.6 times the distance between us and the moon. So everything's really close together. They're almost lined up, which is kind of cool. So they're all like just revolving around TRAPPIST-1 in kind of like a conga line, which is interesting, but it means that they're all in the shade of one another, so as it goes back, they get colder than we even thought they might get. Why is being tidally locked bad? Well, think about it. If we had one side of the Earth that only faced the sun all the time, it'd be about as hot as the Sahara Desert. And if we had a part that was facing away all the time, it'd be really, really cold, like the parts of Antarctica that don't really get much direct sunlight because of the way that they're angled. So half the planet would be too hot to support life, half the planet would be too cold to support life. It's not looking good so far. There is something called the Terminator line, which is really a kind of cool name, but it's around the ring where the dark side and the light side meet, and that kind of could have life, but that's such a small strip of viable temperature that the odds that life would be able to form in such a small area is really, really small in itself. Also, we need to think about how likely life is on all of the planets that we've found in general to kind of look at how TRAPPIST-1 compares. Of all the habitable exoplanets, so potentially habitable exoplanets that we've found, only one of them is orbiting a star that's like our sun in terms of temperature and size. Stars like ours make up only 7.6% of all the stars in the entire universe, where dwarf stars, like TRAPPIST-1, make up over 75% of all the stars in the entire universe. Really, let's assume that 75% of all the rocky planets are tidally locked and really close to their suns, which means that it's unlikely they have life. Also, when you orbit around a dwarf star, as all the TRAPPIST-1 planets do in their system, you have a lot of radiation from that star, because even though the star is small and cool, you're really close to it. So the solar flares, the radiation coming off from that star are going to hit you really hard, especially on that half that's always close to the sun. I mean, to make matters worse, the star is so small, it's not very much bigger than Jupiter. But the planets are as big as Earth, so the comparison between the star and the planet, it's not that different. The star emits so little light, even the side that's facing the sun the whole time would be in a perpetual twilight, so it would be kind of creepy to live there anyway. Now, that's not to say that life that we don't kind of know what it is yet could form there, and maybe if they do have atmospheres, they could form life, but as far as what we know the conditions of life are as of right now, the Earth is the only planet of all the exoplanets that it even was a fraction of the likelihood to make life as these other planets. That being said, don't show any of your friends this video because NASA is grossly underfunded. And the fact of the matter is that they want to get people excited about finding new planets so that they get money to keep NASA even going, which I support NASA existing as an organization. So, in fact, as a libertarian, that's one of the only government organizations that I really can feel my tax dollars at work. And don't start freaking out yet. We have not explored the vast majority of the universe. It's like, what's his name? Black guy?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse, yeah. It's like Neil deGrasse Tyson said. That's like taking a cup of water out of the ocean and saying there's no whales in here, there must be no whales in the ocean. We have a lot more to look at. But what we've found so far has indicated that we thought that life was probably more common than it actually is. I mean, people have thrown around, oh, we've found 15 potentially habitable exoplanets, so if we extrapolate that number, then we should expect, on the conservative side, 10,000 civilizations that could be as far along as us. But really, when you think about it, none of the planets that we've found so far could really support life. So, I don't know, maybe we are the only ones out there.
This is the